Lawmakers pushed through bills in response to the deadly July floods.
No parent should ever have to outlive their child or endure this kind of loss.
And with families of the victims watching, the governor signs them into law.
I don't like that my daughter had to die for this to take place, but I don't ever want any other innocent child to die while they're at summer camp.
The changes to protect children and what comes next for camps in Texas. A new test coming for students statewide.
We're just going to measure growth. We're on a pathway to measure growth in the first in the country way.
But there's still controversy over plans to replace the STAR exam.
In fact, it quadruples the amount of tests now required by the state for our kids in public schools.
We look at what the testing plan will mean for students and why some people are pushing back. Big changes are underway for the Texas Lottery. As a new agency takes over, we look at how the transition could affect people who play the games.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. Lawmakers ended the second special session after a rush of late-night action at the Capitol. That included final passage of a series of bills in response to the deadly July floods. One poignant moment came when the Texas Senate passed House Bill 1, which seeks to improve emergency planning at camps. Senators all stood up for the vote in honor of the 27 girls who died when the flood hit Camp Mystic in Kerr County. On Friday, family members of many of those girls were at the governor's mansion as Greg Abbott signed the flood response legislation into law. We spoke with one of those families. Capitol correspondent Adam Schwager brings us a closer look.
She was the glue of our family. I thought of her as my best friend.
When Callie and Michael McKown dropped their daughter Linny off at Camp Mystic this summer, they had no idea it would be their last time seeing her.
She was very excited. She said she knew she was going to get homesick, but she knew that there would be people there that took care of her.
In the overnight hours of July 4th, floodwaters swept through the campground.
I got a phone call and all it said was, Linny is unaccounted for, and I remember I fell to the ground.
The McKowns believe their daughter's death could have been preventable. And on Friday, Governor Greg Abbott signed a pair of bills intended to address youth camp safety, including measures such as making sure no cabins are built within the floodplains of rushing water, that all camps have emergency evacuation plans and annual drills, and that all camps have weather radios that include some form of emergency alert system.
The mandatory evacuations based on the National Weather Service severity warnings. If that was a private policy by the camp, these kids would still be alive because at 1 o'clock, the National Weather Service elevated the severity of the flash flood warning.
The new laws will increase parental disclosure, giving them a place to file complaints for noncompliance, and creates mandatory evacuation sirens in flood-prone areas. For Linny McKown and the rest of Heaven's 27, these measures are too late.
I don't like that my daughter had to die for this to take place, but I don't ever want any other innocent child to die while they're at summer camp, because it should be the safest place they are. And I don't want any other parent to ever have to suffer the way that we have suffered these past 2 months and will suffer for the rest of our lives.
For State of Texas, I'm Adam Schwager.
The governor also signed Senate Bill 3, which requires local governments in flood-prone areas to install outdoor sirens and warning systems. State grants will be provided to help pay for those systems. Before taking up flood bills on the last day of the special session, state lawmakers passed legislation to replace the standardized test taken by Texas students. It aims to replace the STAR test with 3 shorter tests during the beginning, middle, and end of the school year. Test scores would be made available to families in as little as 2 days. That's much faster than the current turnaround time. The legislation also calls for a committee of teachers to make sure test questions are grade level appropriate. Teachers and parents have long argued the STAR puts too much pressure on students, but there was division over how to replace the exam, and Democrats pushed back on the plan for more tests.
This bill impacts our children, and not in a good way. This bill increases, not reduces, the testing loads on our students. Instead of one STAR test, we'll have multiple, all supplied by TEA unless districts can afford third-party options like MAP.
During the debate, supporters argued the new system will give teachers and parents a better picture of where students might need help. The bill's backers also touted provisions to provide accountability in the development of the tests and the results.
They'll report to the legislature in 2027 on test development, and they'll report again to the legislature in 2029 on a new growth measure in A through F. This is the first time ever that TA has been required to report to this body in test development and in any change in indicators that involve our A through F system.
These new tests won't begin until the 2027-28 school year. How students score will affect those A through F ratings for schools. One big item did not get to the governor's desk: regulation on products containing hemp-derived THC. That's the compound in cannabis that creates the feeling of being high. Governor Abbott's initial special session call included a push to regulate products like drinks and gummies that contain THC. He vetoed a bill from the regular session that banned those products. Despite that, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick kept pushing for a ban, and in the special session, senators passed a bill almost identical to the one Abbott vetoed. That bill did not advance in the House. A push for compromise failed in the last hours of the special session, but on Friday, Governor Abbott told reporters that lawmakers could consider this again, saying, quote, "Something may be happening soon." Hope for Texans who are victims of violent crimes. The new state law aimed at clearing up backlogs after our investigation. A big change is drawing attention to the Texas lottery. We look closer at the transition and how it will affect people hoping to win the jackpot. Some new laws are now in effect, sparked by our investigations aimed at improving the state's troubled crime victims compensation fund. For nearly 3 years, we've been bringing you our Held Up series of reports. Our team has uncovered turnover backlogs and months-long delays for victims of violent crimes trying to get help. Now, Investigator Matt Grant reports these new changes are a long-awaited improvement to a system that for many can be a lifeline.
I was flying through the air and then landed down on the pavement.
We first met Terry Rager last summer, 2.5 years after a robbery attack left her barely able to work with a pile of medical bills.
I was diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety, and depression.
In January 2024, she asked the state's Crime Victims Compensation Fund for help.
Give me a break.
A self-employed real estate agent, records show the bulk of her claims were denied twice before finally being approved this past April. She said she was made whole in June, a 1.5 years after she first applied.
It was really frustrating. And when you can't get anybody to respond to your calls and questions, you know, for somebody who's gone through a traumatizing experience, this is just re-traumatizing.
According to this July letter, Rager was reimbursed $50,000.
I got the maximum. It helped me a lot. I mean, it was a battle.
The money administered by the Attorney General's office mostly comes from federal grants and court fees. Now a new law sets a benchmark goal of 90 days for victims to start receiving payments after our investigations uncovered lengthy delays. Other changes include the ability to issue emergency payments if a victim will suffer undue hardship if immediate economic relief is not obtained, and a fix to a transparency problem that we first revealed.
Our numbers did not, I think, properly reflect the work that we were doing.
Now, the AG's office must separate reimbursements to victims, which in 2024 averaged nearly 8 months to process, from rape kit exam payments made directly to hospitals, often within days. Previously, we exposed the state combined those numbers, giving a false impression of how quickly victims like Rager were being reimbursed.
General Paxson, the Crime Victims Compensation Fund.
Can you reach out to our press office?
We have.
Okay.
We've reached out for a year. We haven't heard back. We're just trying to get answers on behalf of crime victims.
While our questions to Attorney General Ken Paxton and his office have been met with silence, their latest performance metrics now separate out payments. The latest data shows wait times for first payment trending down, averaging around 3.5 months. Rager hopes other victims will continue finding help faster than she could.
And just get things done faster and more efficiently. more effectively and bring this whole system into the 21st century.
Matt Grant, State of Texas.
We again reached out to the Attorney General's office for comment, but did not hear back. You can catch up on the problems that led to the law changes. Our full series of Held Up reports is online now. Look for the link in this week's State of Texas story on our website. Big changes are underway for the Texas Lottery. As a new agency takes over, we look at how the transition could affect people who play the games. A new state law aims to cut down on child support delays, but frustrated single parents are still facing problems.
There's too many families, too many parents out there struggling.
We look closer at the concerns and why some parents say they're not hopeful the new law will help them. Saturday night's Powerball jackpot was one of the largest in the game's history, with the prize approaching $2 billion. The huge jackpot brought a lot of attention to the lottery, but here in Texas, the lottery is also drawing attention for a major transition and new leadership. Capitol correspondent Dylan McKim explains how the Lottery Commission is merging with a new agency and what it means for people who play the games.
It's one of the biggest prizes in Powerball history, and it comes at the start of a new era in Texas lottery.
What serendipitous timing for us
Welcome.
as the new agency, right?
The Texas Lottery is now being managed by the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. Earlier this year, the Texas legislature voted to disband the Lottery Commission because of frustrations with how the agency was operating the game. Allegations of cheating the game are still being investigated by the Texas Rangers. Starting Monday, employees of the Lottery Commission have merged with TDLR. The agency held its first public meeting since the transition on Thursday.
So far, going very well.
Glenn Neal is in charge of the transition. He said all but a handful of Lottery Commission employees have integrated into TDLR. And more importantly, he says there has been no interruption to lottery services as Powerball fever heats up.
We expect that the player experience is literally unchanged.
The biggest change will impact people who play the lottery on their phone through courier services. Players can no longer use those services and must play in person with cash.
We hope that they'll honor the citizens of the state and operate it accordingly.
Rob Kohler works for the Christian Life Commission, the public policy arm of the Baptist General Convention of Texas. He was at the meeting and says so far he's pleased with the transition. He expects the new leadership will make meaningful changes to the game. For example, he's concerned about the current amount of unclaimed prizes from games like scratch-offs. Last fiscal year, that number was $80 million.
Another way to put that is citizens of the state were tricked out of that $80 million. So it's issues like that we believe will get a fresh review.
Next up, an audit of the lottery program as work moves forward to keep tickets printing.
Dylan joins us now. The move to end the Lottery Commission came after the governor ordered the Texas Rangers to investigate 2 Texas lottery jackpot wins. What's the status of that investigation?
Well, we're not going to get a lot of answers from the Texas Rangers. They will not comment on any story, on any investigation as it is ongoing. But it is true to note that this investigation has been going on for a very long time. The governor called this investigation back in February. If we really look at all the lawsuits that are involved with this cheating scandal that's surrounded the Texas Lottery, there's a lot of names that have been mentioned. So you can imagine the Texas Rangers are going through following, whether it's a money trail, following and questioning multiple people that were involved in these lawsuits that are named as defendants in these lawsuits. So I really don't have an answer as to when this investigation will wrap up, but I've been speaking with stakeholders. It doesn't seem it's going to wrap up anytime soon.
Lawmakers did end up passing legislation in response to questions about the integrity of the Texas Lottery.
Yes.
What provisions are built in to prevent any kind of cheating scandal?
Yeah, very simple provisions. If you're a retailer, you cannot sell more than 100 tickets to a single person in a single transaction. Also, retailers are limited to the amount of lottery terminals that they actually have in their store. That is the machine that actually prints out those yellow lottery tickets that you buy. They're maxed out to only have 5 per retail store. You think about Winter's Corner. That was the store that Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick was doing his sleuthing and investigating in. He had told us that there was more than 40 machines in that store at a time. So it really limits that number. And I also, another provision, the law lets Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and Speaker Dustin Burrows to actually go and do their own investigating of retail stores. So if you're a retailer out there and one day Dan Patrick's at your door, by law, he's allowed to get back behind the counter and see and do investigating to see that everything's up to code.
Yeah, it's probably not a coincidence if he shows up. One question we hear when we cover the lottery is, where does the money go? Some of it helps fund Texas schools, we know.
Yeah.
How much are we talking about there?
So if we want to go all the way back to 1992 when the lottery started, about $41 billion has gone directly to Texas schools. This past fiscal year, they were just a little shy of $2 billion. If we look at the big piece of pie of how much money the lottery brings in, the biggest slice, about 70%, goes to those prize winners. So if you win the lottery, you win any scratch-off games, all that money is about 70% of the revenue goes to the winners. Next biggest chunk is the school, about 23% of the revenue goes to those education fund. And then a very small slice, less than a percentage, 0.3%, actually goes to some state programs and the Veterans Commission, Texas Veterans Commission. This last year, about $26.8 million was transferred over to the Veterans Commission.
I have a feeling we have not heard the last of it this year.
We have not. I mean, we know for sure that the Lottery Commission's up for sunset again in 2027, so we'll see if it can survive.
All right, Dylan, thank you very much.
Thanks.
How am I supposed to find him if a government agency can't find him?
Frustrated single parents in Texas say they're still waiting for child support payments.
Giving someone proper notice is essential to moving forward with a court case.
The new state law aimed to cut down on unnecessary delays in delivering child support, sparked after our investigation. This week, a new law streamlining some child support procedures went into effect. The legislation promises to help Texas families by reducing delays in cases. The measure comes after our investigation detailed concerns from Texas parents owed billions of dollars in child support. As investigator Arzo Dost explains, some parents waiting on child support say they're not hopeful the new law will help them.
All of you are single parents.
Yes.
These Central Texans are just a few of the 24 frustrated parents we've heard from in the last several months. They've detailed challenges receiving child support payments they say would help them raise their kids.
The balance now, I think, is $21,000.
In the 3 years that I've been battling in court, it's now gone over $80,000.
I am running about 600 behind.
The Office of the Texas Attorney General enforces child support. These parents tell us that's not happening in their cases. And they say what's even more concerning is the agency can't track down some delinquent parents.
How am I supposed to find him if a government agency can't find him? Like, I don't have the resources of a government agency. So how am I supposed to locate him?
Obviously, there's a major breakdown. There should be red flags along the way, like, oh, hey, she's 30 days behind. Oh, now she's 60 days behind. Oh, she's 90 days behind. The AG's office has allowed this to accumulate.
I am almost begging for information. Will you contact the other parent and find out what the plan is? Will you, can I have a caseworker? Can I file some sort of a dispute?
Lawmakers heard the concerns.
123 ayes, 22 nays. Senate Bill 1403 is finally passed.
Last regular session, they passed legislation giving the AG the option to serve notices and documents by email if one is provided to the court to cut down on unnecessary delays in delivering child support. Dallas Senator Royce West authored the bill. He tells us in part, so many people use email that this will make for more effective, timely notice being provided.
Giving someone proper notice is essential to moving forward with a court case. This makes it easier to provide that notice and therefore makes it easier to go forward with your court case, whether it's an enforcement or a modification or both.
Jennifer Severn is a family law attorney and once worked in the AG's child support division.
If you've properly noticed someone and they don't show up, you can ask the judge to issue a capias for their arrest. Then they will be arrested. Then they will be brought before the court. So there's a remedy for not showing up.
Severn adds the new law will also allow the AG to file an investigative report regarding how much money a parent who owes child support makes.
Once they're able to get that information in front of the judge through an investigative report. It makes it much easier to get families the increases in child support that they so desperately need.
Parents we spoke with say they aren't so hopeful the new law will make a difference.
More enforcement actions need to happen.
Quicker.
Yeah, quicker.
There's too many families, too many parents out there struggling.
The kids are the ones who suffer.
We have repeatedly reached out to the AG's office and asked about the implementation of this new law, but no one has responded. Arzo Dost for State of Texas.
In late July, the agency said in a press release it successfully launched a new modernized child support system meant to improve efficiency and streamline case processing. A handful of families reached out to our team after the upgrade, saying they were having problems with the updated system. Our investigators have been sharing concerns from Texans waiting on child support since early this year and tracking every step of this new law. You can check out our reporting right now on our website. Just look for the link in this week's State of Texas story. Thank you again for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle. We'll be back next week to bring you an in-depth look at Texas politics.